Hey Zen fam. So, today I read a rather interesting little thing online. Apparently, there are some differences between different regions of different gamers. Nothing too crazy, I would imagine you would imagine, but there are some noticeable differences. Basically, right, Sony Interactive Entertainment, you know, SIE for short, as you've probably come to know them over the years, right, has shared some interesting game data, garnered from the servers and such, with trophy data and play time and stuff like that. And it turns out that comparing, just in this video alone, we'll just circle around on North America, Europe, and yeah, that includes my poxy little wet island, and Japan. Three of the big territories when we think about gaming. Yeah, we've got Australia and like the Middle East and stuff, and there's lots of gaming that goes on those places. South America, large swaths of Africa, the Russian area. Gaming is global and is massive, but for what I read in this particular article, these areas are of interesting concern, and they denote particular patterns that you may find enlightening. So I apologise to any Australian members of the Zen fam or any other members of the Zen fam from places that I'm not speaking of in this video, but you did not come in the article, so I can't talk about you because I don't know. I've got data here, so that's how it is. Anyway, a young gentleman by the name of Kenjo Akiyama, sorry, I'm probably saying his name completely wrong, I do apologise, sir. Get this right, American players on a yearly basis will generally tend to get through about 10 to 11 games. Now they'll buy 10 to 11 games, that's one of the important things to remember here, right? EU players will tend to get their hands on 9 to 10 games. A little bit of a drop. Now here's the interesting thing. Japanese gamers, get ready for this, 6. But, crucially, what they're mostly playing is long form, deep involved games like JRPGs and MMORPGs. Games that require literally multiples of hundreds of hours to play and sometimes never even complete. Games that you're completely just locked into for a lifetime. Especially with like MMORPGs, I mean, you could be spending your forever in one of those games because they never actually ever finish. But because they've spent so much time getting so deep into games that they do buy, they generally tend to have this habit of playing games deeply and completely, and thusly actually have a higher percentage of trophy yield from their games. Now, perhaps maybe the European users may get more trophies overall, but they're not getting more trophies per game. Those Japanese users are most certainly doing that. Now, I'm not saying that one set of players is better than the other. That would be foolhardy and probably tantamount to racism, but these are nonetheless interesting stats. What is interesting is that we here in Europe tend to complete more of our games than our US brothers and sisters. So they're buying more games, but they're not necessarily completing all their games, And what's really telling about that, between the two big gaming cultures that exist, take us out of the equation, right? Japanese players are actually more likely to buy physical games, even on modern consoles. Which is interesting because we always hear about how small Japanese living accommodations are, right? And how there's a tightness for space and they're like small compact systems, which is one of the reasons why the PS5 hasn't sold as well there as previous versions of the PlayStation. but yet they're buying physical games which take up space. Now, maybe, but then it is also fair to say that there is a very healthy second-hand market in Japan, so maybe this is contributing to it. Japanese gamers are smarter, and maybe they realize, that like they buy a game, they trade a game, they get more games, or maybe they just like the idea of ownership. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, as far as the study is concerned, Japanese gamers on the whole are buying more physical games, whilst players in North America are buying more digital games, which is interesting because American internet infrastructure is nowhere near as strong as Japan. In fact, there's large swaths of American internet that are basically still just dial-up. Yeah, our internet here in the UK is quite strong in a lot of places. There's a couple of dips here and there, but by and large, it's pretty decent. And in Europe, it's there's lots of really good stuff. I mean, Europe's a big place with wide varieties of different authorities and companies and stuff. So I can't speak entirely for their internet coverage as as an EU state. But I can speak for the coverage here. The coverage here is pretty good. But I do know that American internet infrastructure is woeful at best, especially as you move out of the main metropolitan centres. You move away from the big cities, internet takes a nosedive in the States. Which is interesting when you consider that the level of digital game ownership in the States. You figure they'd be more likely to go for physical, because, sitting there waiting to download a game would take 300 billion years. And then, like, if you want to play an online title against anybody, that's even worse because your internet's just like lag city. So this is most intriguing. The Japanese are fantastic for overall game accomplishment trophy level. They spend longer in their games and they buy physical. We're smack bang in the middle, or like everything, and the Americans swing completely the opposite way to Japan. And I just find this fascinating, and I thought you might find it interesting too. But I obviously, wherever you are in the world, you could be in like, New Zealand, or you could be in Timbuktu for all I know. And it's like, you could be living on Easter Island, and you're a gamer, and you might be Zen fam, or even if you're not, welcome. Please, typey down below, let Zen Bloke know what it's like where you are, and what your experiences are with trophies, with digital, with physical, with the types of games you and your friends play. And maybe in the comments we can build a fuller, more interesting picture of what it really is like for actual real gamers out there in the real world. Okay guys, I just thought I'd bring this to you because I thought it was just really interesting and most enlightening to what we think and now apparently what we know. Okay guys, look after each other out there. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, aye, nae bother.